So what's your name?
My name is Armand Joseph Jolly.
And why did you join the Navy?
I joined the Navy because it was wartime. The Japanese had attacked Hawaii, and that made me mad. So I joined the Navy. I didn't want to go in the Army. So the Navy was my best bet.
And how old were you?
18 or 19 or 20, close by. Because I was 19 in 1940, and this was 41. Because I was born in 22, so whatever date you want to put in, that's it.
Great. And then were you on the Emmons right away?
I was not on the Emmons. I went to Great Lakes Naval Station in Chicago, and I went to gunnery school. After gunnery school, I went to the Fargo building in Boston, and from the Fargo building, I was assigned to the Emmons. From the Emmons, we went to Casco Bay in Maine, and we escorted the Ranger just on the trip. And from there, we went to Bermuda, and from Bermuda, we went to the African invasion. From the African invasion, we came back to Boston and went out again on patrol with the Ranger, the aircraft carrier. From there, we went back to Italy, convoy duty, and from there, we had trips with the Ranger, exercise, and we finally ended up around Iceland, Norway, and we went to the invasion of Normandy. Of course, Italy was in between there. We went to Normandy, we had trips, we went to Portland, England, and from England we went to Wales to get special ammunition, and from there we went back to Portsmouth, and we waited for D-Day. The D-Day was awful rough, but we were close to the France shore, Normandy shore. So from there, we were the first ship to fire at the Germans in Normandy. And from there on, it is history. It wasn't very nice. More people were killed, more army men were gone ashore, were blown to pieces. But our ship was never hit. From there, we got a call from the Army that the Army was being held up in a little town, I forget the name, but there was a church steeple that had a machine gun nest in the steeple. So the scouter told us to fire range, and we did. And he said, you hit the door, raise a couple degrees, and when we did, we blew the steeple off the church. And from there, everything went pretty good. After the invasion of northern France, of Normandy, we went down to southern France. In southern France, we fired at Marseille, and there was no answer back. So in the afternoon, we had port and starboard swimming in the Mediterranean. We also went back to Boston, got repairs, whatever. And after that, we escorted the Iowa from the Azores to Gibraltar. That's when President Roosevelt went to the Tehran Conference. We left the Azores after the Iowa came out, and we escorted it down to Brazil. From Brazil, we went to Freetown, Africa, and from there back to Boston. And then we went to Norway, trying to get the Scharnhorst to come out, which was the German battleship, and it was in the fjord, and it wouldn't come out. We had ships out there making smoke and everything else, and it just wouldn't come out. So we went back to Boston, and we read in the paper where the British fleet had sunk the Scharnhorst. We were converted to a destroyer minesweeper. Now this is just my memory. We got converted to a minesweeper. We went through the canal, went to the Pacific, went to Hawaii, and trained, and with minesweeping. Then we went to Okinawa. We didn't know where we were going, because only the captain knew where we were going. But we were off the Okinawa coast, and we were minesweeping. We were protecting small minesweepers, because they could get in closer to shore than we could. And then suicide planes came down. We saw one dive right down to the Rodman, hit it on the forecastle, and from there on it was just battling 5 planes. We got hit by 5 suicide planes. We shot 6 of them down, and the ship was all ashore. I jumped out of my gun because it was all aflame. No life jacket. I laid on the deck for a while. When I got up, I looked around, and there was a message, abandoned ship. So we abandoned ship. I had no life jacket, so I swam for a while till someone picked me up in a lifeboat. And I went to the hospital ship. I went to Guam, and I went to Johnson Island, back to Treasure Island, back home, and then I went out in the cab, went to Mare Island Ammunition Depot. That was the end of my service in the Navy. Thank you. That's it.
Can we go back just a little bit?
We can go back as far as you want.
That was great. When the ship was attacked by the kamikaze pilots, where were you? What were you doing?
I was in gun 1. I was a pointer. But the guns were being controlled by gun control up on the bridge. So they controlled every firing. We had nothing to do. We just put the shells in, let them do the firing. But nothing else we could do. They fired. But when the bridge was knocked off, then that's when the plane hit just below us, below gun 1, and we had flames in the ship, and that's when I got burnt. My hands were burnt, my face was burnt, but my life jacket was still hanging on the hook by the pointer side of the gun, and I just got out because there was so much flame in the ship. no one, all the other ones got out, but I didn't know what happened to them. Some died, but I still survived.
Do you
I
think
s-
you got any shots off
Anyway,
when were you fighting? Were you actually, when you were in your gunnery, when you were actually getting any rounds off? Were you fighting against
well,
them?
yes, we fired, I think we hit one plane head on, but who knows? Things happen quick. Because I was looking at my gun, and it looked like I hit a plane right in the engine, but who knows? You know, things happen, crazy things. But I got home.
When you were in the hospital afterwards, I heard that someone came to visit with medals.
Oh, yeah, the general, Halsey, came aboard, came to the hospital, and he was gonna pin a medal on all the wounded veterans. And the nurses were running around the hospital looking for Armand Jolly. And I was out on the deck, and they said, "Oh, you gotta come in, because the general is there." And I said, "Yeah." The admiral, I guess, not general. And I said, "You gonna pin a needle on, pin on me?" I said, "Yeah." "Okay, can they do that? I don't have a top." Oh, she went out and got a hospital top, and finally, the admiral pinned a purple heart on me. But next day I left the hospital.
So you're part of this association, the Emmons Association. What does that mean to you to be part of the association?
We started back in 1952. Ray Quinn, Darling, Kid, myself, and somebody else, I can't think of the name. We started in Boston at the Bradford, and we're still going. What else?
This group of guys is you're very, very close.
Yes, we are. We're family. We are family. Never forget them.
That's great. Thank